Kaltima frapo utesuda oniprote. Hello and welcome to the next part of our listening practice series. Today we again look at some simple sentences, but with a small twist, because I will always show you two very similar sounding words. So these words only are different in one single sound. Of course, I will first just read them for you, and you then have to find them in the dictionary and find out what they mean and what the difference is, of course. And then afterwards, you will listen to some sentences that have these words. I'm using a lot of official sentences or sentences that I changed a bit from official sentences and only a few of my own. So just as information. Also, like always, the usual disclaimer, my pronunciation is not perfect. And today we are not only having L and T sentences, we will have some bit more grammar, but L and T, so the thing that belongs to grammar number 2, which this current video still applies to. The other things that we use today are really things that you can translate word by word. So I will show you some examples. Oe za'u ne kelutral, I come to the home tree. So here we have at position ne kelutral, and I will only use at position in this way that you really can literally translate them into English. So nothing complicated here. We will also have some negations today. Oe ke za'u ne kelutral, I don't come to the home tree, so the ke is just in front of the verb. We will also have some conjunctions here. So for example, yerik se nantang duel ne win. The yerik and the nantang run quickly. And also you see the adverb newin here. Again, everything that you can just translate word by word. And lastly, another example. Wel daron yerigit hunga, I hunt the yerik with you. So again, example of an adposition. So the only grammar you really need to know today is L and T, the L and T endings that we talked about before. And all the other things you'll use today, you don't really need to know them for now. It's just things that you can translate literally from Na'vi into English, so that should not be a problem. But let's quickly start with our first two words. So I will read them. First, the first word. The first word is ha. 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 I say it one more time. Ha. So, like always, make sure to find the word in the dictionary. Our second word, very similar, is ha. 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 So, both words next to each other. Ha versus ha. Ha versus ha. So, here are the words. First we have ha. So, in that case, it's a conjunction. And then we have ha. So, if you have tongue at the end, so you hear the sudden stop, ha, which also kind of makes the vowel shorter. And that one is a verb meaning to fit, suit, or complement. Let's hear some sentences. I have two sentences for you. One of them uses ha, and the other one uses ha. First sentence. Neitiri se tsieg ha fitsap. 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 So I read one more time. If you have not written down all the words yet, of course you can go back and re-listen to me saying the sentence a few times. Neitiri se tsieg ha fitsap. And our second sentence is Tompa eko nit an ha ke vrke oe fitr. Tompa eko nit an ha ke vrke oe fitr. Tompa eko nit an ha ke vrke oe fitr. I say it one more time. Dompa eko netan. Ha ke brke oe fetr. So let's look at our sentences. First we had this one. Neitiri sitjek ha fitsap. Which means something like Neytiri and Jake fit each other. So Neytiri and Jake are a good match. Next we had Dompa eko netan. Ha ke brke oe fetr. The rain attacks a lot, which is just a way to say, or the way to say that it rains a lot. Ha ke brke oe fetr. So I don't go out today. Or in that case, I don't go out today. Next word. Me versus me. Me versus me. Me, me. Me, me. Me versus me. I say it one more time. Me versus me. So, these were our words. First of all, me, yet, still, as before. And we had the adposition me, which means in or on. Most often it means in, but it can mean on if we are talking about planets. So, me rta, on Earth. Let's again listen to some examples. I have 3 sentences for you. Ut asi oe seradu menaring. 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 I just saw here we actually also have another pair, si versus se. Didn't notice that when I wrote the sentence, but I read it one more time. Ut asi oe seradu menaring. Next sentence. Mi pol inan bukid. Mi pol inan bukid. Mi pol inan bukid. Mi pol inan bukid. And one last time. Mi pol inan bukid. And last sentence. Well mi fueu yerikid menaring. Well mi fueu yerikid menaring. Well mi fueu yerikid menaring. One last time. Well mi fueu yerikid menaring. So, like always, make sure that you have everything written down. And if you want to learn best, then of course look up the words yourself and try to find out what the sentences mean before I show you the solutions, which I will do now. Here are our sentences. The first one was Ut asi oe se Radu menaring. So I and Radu meet in the forest. Next we've got Mi pol inan bukid. He or she still reads a book, or the book, could be both depending on context. And last, Well mi fueu yerikid menaring. I still search a yerik in the forest, or the yerik in the forest. Next we have ting versus ting. 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 One more time. Ting versus ting. Here are our words. 2 verbs this time. First one is ting, to give. And then we got ing, which is to leave or abandon. So we have 2 transitive verbs here. Again, I have 3 sentences for you. First one actually has multiple parts, it's an official one. Ing aioangit, hum ne vrpa duel. So it's kind of 3 sentences, 3 very small ones that belong together. Ing aioangit, hum ne vrpa duel. Ing aioangit, hum ne vrpa duel. Ing aioangit, hum ne vrpa duel. I read it one more time. Ing aioangit, hum ne vrpa duel. The next one is a bit shorter. Epil te somit ding. Epil te somit ding. Epil te somit ding. Epil te somit ding. I read it one more time. Epil te somit ding. And one last sentence, a bit longer one this time. Ding poel jeulati ne au. Ha poeti ing poanel. Ding poel jeulati ne au. Ha poeti ing poanel. Ding poel jeulati ne au. Ha poeti ing poanel. I read it one last time. Ding poel jeulati ne au. Ha poeti ing poanel. And let's look at the sentences. Like always, make a break to look up the words and try to translate the sentence yourself first. But here they are. First we had ing aioangit, hum ne vrpa duel. So leave the animals or abandon the animals. Get outside. Leave towards the outside literally. Run. Next we had epil te somit ding. So fire gives heat. And the last one, ding poel jeulati ne au. Ha poeti ing poanil. Here we have the ha again from the first examples. So ding poel jeulati ne au. She only gives disappointment. Ha poeti ing poanil. So he leaves or abandons her. I have to say one thing about the sentence, the first part. When I prepared these slides, we didn't have jeula si yet. So jeula si is a new si verb that means to disappoint someone. I made these slides, I think, like 3 months ago and just was too lazy to record this. I think jeula si would be better, like saying something like poe jeula si ne au, she only disappoints. But that didn't exist back then when I made these slides. And of course, then we didn't have the thing here. So this is a very weird of phrasing this. I just left it here for the sake of having the thing and the ing in the same sentence. Usually we would use jeula si here. That's definitely would have been a better solution. Next one. Nga versus nga. Nga versus nga. Nga versus nga. This one should be familiar from the very first one. Ha versus ha. This is a very similar example. But nga versus nga. I'm also pretty sure the first one, the nga, the word you definitely know because it's one of the most used words. Nga versus nga. I say it one more time. Nga versus nga. So, and here are the 2 words. First of all, nga, of course, you, singular. I think everyone should know this one. And then we have a verb nga, which means to contain but also to be pregnant with. I again have 3 sentences for you, 3 short sentences. First one, ngal lfiat fdia. 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 One last time. Ngal lfiat fdia. Then next one. Nga prnenti ngal. Nga prnenti ngal. Nga prnenti ngal. Nga prnenti ngal. I read one more time. Nga prnenti ngal. And the last one. Sleril nga fwepid. 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 I read it one more time. Sleril nga fwepid. So let's look at the sentences. First we've got ngal lfiat fdia. You study the language. Next we got nga prnenti ngal. Of course, here the better solution would be to just say nga prnen nga, because we have the intransitive verb nga prnen for to be pregnant. We can say nga for to be pregnant if we want to say with whom we are pregnant. So for example, we could use nga as a transitive verb if we want to say you are pregnant with 2 children, or with my sister or something like that. If we just want to say you are pregnant with a child, so nga prnenti ngal, then we would usually just say nga prnen, like as one verb. I just put the example in here to have a nice sentence with nga and ngal in one sentence. And lastly, so it means you are pregnant with a baby. And lastly, sleril nga fwepid. The cave contains dust, so the cave is dusty. Next, we got sre versus sre. Sre versus sre. Sre versus sre. Sre, sre. Sre, sre. Sre versus sre. I say it one more time. Sre, sre. So we've got these 2 words. First of all, sre, which is in adposition, it means before, so in time, not in position. And then we got the noun sre, which is cloth or a piece of cloth woven on a loom. I have 2 sentences here for you. The first one is sre se numvi aioe yom ausiteng. Sre se numvi aioe yom ausiteng. Sre se numvi aioe yom ausiteng. I read it one more time. Sre se numvi aioe yom ausiteng. And the second sentence, pol enit ngop ta sre. Pol enit ngop ta sre. Pol enit ngop ta sre. Pol, enid, ngop, da, sre. I read it one more time. Pol, enid, ngop, da, sre. And let's look at the sentences. So, we have sre, se numvi, aioe, yom, ausiteng, which means before the lesson we eat together. And we had pol, enid, ngop, da, sre, which means he or she creates clothes from woven cloth. Next, we have a very interesting one. Tute versus tute. Tute versus tute. Tute, tute. Tute, tute. It's totally fine if you don't know how to write this difference down, because actually there is an exception in writing here for this specific case. Just try to hear what the difference is, and if you can hear the difference and can kind of say what the difference is, that's already fine. I read it one more time. Tute versus tute. So the first one, you probably recognize the word because it's very often used. Tute, it's a person. And then we have tute, which is a woman. So what happens here is tute, the person, is stressed on the first syllable. Tute, tute. And the second one, woman, is stressed on the second syllable. So tute, tute. We don't have many examples of where stress makes a difference. We also have au versus au, which is like an exclamation versus a drum, or the other way around. The au is the drum, the au is the exclamation. But that doesn't happen very often. And here is really the only case where we have the a with the apostrophe on top, just to show that we are that when in writing that we are using tute and not tute. Usually you don't use this apostrophe to show stress. But I have two very small sentences for you here. First one is po lu tute. 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 I read one more time because it was really just a very small sentence. Po lu tute. And another one, again a very short sentence. Nong tuteti nantangil. Nong tuteti nantangil. Nong tuteti nantangil. One more time. Nong tuteti nantangil. Here are our sentences. First, po lu tute. She is a woman. And nong tuteti nantangil. The nantang follows the person. So another one. Zoom versus zoom. Zoom versus zoom. Zoom versus zoom. Zoom versus zoom. I actually had a lot of difficulties saying these two in the beginning when I learned Natmi, because I need so long to understand the difference of the sounds there. Even though my native language has it, but still I failed that completely at the beginning. Zoom versus zoom. I read it one more time. Zoom, zoom. So, our two words are zoom with an S, a sharp S, shell from the ocean, and zoom. So it's kind of like you are humming like bee like a bee. Zzz. This is how Yayair, a community member, explained it to me and actually taught me to do this. Zoom, which is an object, thing, physical or tangible. So basically it's like the basic word u, thing, that is used for everything. but zoom is for physical things, while u can be for anything, really. I again have two simple sentences for you. First of all, Eveng uvan si fa zoom. 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 I'll read it one more time. Eveng uvan si fa zoom. And then I have a very short one for you again. Zoom zoom lu. 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 One more time. Zoom zoom lu. Let's look at the sentences. So we've got Eveng uvan si fa zoom. So the child plays with a shell. And then we've got zoom zoom lu. And what that means is just a shell is a physical object. So I have very similar pair for you now. Z versus Z. Z, Z. Z, Z. Z, Z. I say it one more time. Z, Z. I think you already got it just from me saying that it's a very similar one from the one before. We have Z, which is an adverb meaning now. And we have Z, which is the verb meaning to treat something emotionally, to display an attitude towards. But let's look at some sentences. I have 3 sentences this time. Zet pol weti zet el elan. 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 One more time. Zet pol weti zet el elan. Next sentence. Ke neu wel siuveti set. 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 One more time. Ke neu wel siuveti set. And the last one a bit longer this time. Zet sapnokil mi weti na eveng. Sle lufientu oeset. Zet sapnokil mi weti na eveng. Sle lufientu oeset. Zet sapnokil mi weti na eveng. Sle lufientu oeset. Zet sapnokil mi weti na eveng. Sle lufientu oeset. I say it one more time. Zet sapnokil mi weti na eveng. Sle lufientu oeset. First of all, we had zet pol weti zet el elan. So now he or she treats me like a friend. Then we had ke neu wel siuveti set. I don't want food now. And last one, our long sentence. Zet satnokil mi wedi na eving. So my mother still treats me like a child. Sle lufientu always said, but I am an adult now. So I have two more pairs. First one, mun-i versus mu-ni. Mun-i versus mu-ni. Mun-i versus mu-ni. Mun-i versus mu-ni. This one actually differs in two different ways. One's a bit more subtle than the other. Maybe you can find it. Mun-i versus mu-ni. Mun-i versus mu-ni. I read it one more time. Mun-i versus mu-ni. So we have two verbs here again. Mun-i, to cut, and mu-ni, which means to accomplish or achieve. So you see very clearly that the diphthong is at different places, but also the stress is different. So mun-i is stressed on the last syllable, mun-i, mun-i, but mu-ni is stressed on the first syllable, mu-ni, mu-ni, mu-ni. I again have two sentences for you. The first one, mun-i emjul fkenid. 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 I say it one more time, a bit slower. Mun-i emjul fkenid. And one more sentence. Deorati aungal mu'ni. Deorati aungal mu'ni. Deorati aungal mu'ni. Deorati aungal mu'ni. One more time. Deorati aungal mu'ni. So let's look at the sentences. First we've got mun-i emjul fkenid. The cook cuts the vegetable. Fun fact, mun-i is one of the hardest words to say for me. When I read the sentence the first time, I had to do like 5 attempts till I got the mun-i somewhat correctly. Yeah, so if you're wondering, like, if you think that my pronunciation is like good and you're like, oh no, I could never do this, don't be. You just like, I cut out all the failed attempts. And diorati aungal mu'ni. We accomplished victory. Now our last pair. Eb-ang versus eb-ang. Eb-ang, eb-ang. Eb-ang, eb-ang. Eb-ang, eb-ang. Eb-ang, eb-ang. I say it one more time. Eb-ang versus eb-ang. So let's look at the words. First we have eb-ang, which means complex. And then we have eb-ang, which means stone jar, which usually is used to hold small toxic arachnids. Don't know why there is a word for specifically that. I guess for the Dreamhunt Unitaron, because they need the toxic arachnids. But I again have two sentences for you. First one. Terei eb-ang lu. Terei eb-ang lu. Terei eb-ang lu. Terei eb-ang lu. One more time. Terei eb-ang lu. And the second sentence, last sentence for today. Nga kali weyati eb-angil. Nga kaliweyati ep angel. Nga kaliweyati ep angel. Nga kaliweyati ep angel. I say it one more time. Nga kaliweyati ep angel. So let's look at our last sentence for today. Ep ang versus ep ang. First we had tirei ep anglu. So life is complicated. And lastly, nga kaliweyati ep angel. So the stone jar contains a poisonous arachnid. And that was it for today. Like always, if you have any questions, leave them in comments or ask me on Discord. I hope this was a bit helpful for you. Hi, Yellow by Mafrapo.